what is up? Welcome to Build. I'm your host, Matt Forte. We are here live at the Build Studio in New York City. Our next guest is a supremely talented television personality, fashion designer, and author. You've probably read her book, True Wit, Designing a Life of Style, Beauty, and Fun. You definitely remember her from the hills and from the city. Or maybe you're one of the millions of people who follow her on social media. She's recently partnered up with Lactaid, the #1 lactose-free dairy brand, and is here to tell us all about what she's been up to and the ways in which she's using Lactaid to satisfy her family's dairy cravings. Ladies and gentlemen, please make an obscene amount of noise and welcome to great Whitney Port. Whitney, welcome.
So thank you. Thank you for having me.
Oh, man. So nice to have you here. Welcome to Build.
Nice to be here. This is my first time.
This is your
It's so
first
cool.
one.
Yeah, this is so awesome.
Very exciting. I'm honored. This is wonderful. Thank you for hanging out with us. We got tons of time. It's the beauty of Build is that we got a nice little cushion we can get in. We're going to talk about Lactaid for sure in a second, but I always love to start with just how are you? How is Whitney doing?
I'm good. I'm really good. I got in here yesterday from Los Angeles. This is the longest time away from my baby that I've been yet. Yeah, he's almost 9 months, but I'm feeling good about it so far. It's only been like 24 hours, so I feel okay.
So
yeah.
24 hours is the longest amount of time you've been away from
Well,
sun.
no, I think I've been away for like 48 hours, but I'm here till Saturday, so it will be the longest time. And my husband's here with me, and when my husband's at home with the baby, I feel a little bit more secure. But yeah, we're both here, so.
Sonny's just on his own. He's just ruling the roost right now, just chilling. How much trouble can he really get in? He's not even
a lot. He's starting to move around and can get into a lot.
That's pretty amazing. So that's cool. I know Tim was here with you. So do you guys don't usually travel together when you go away like that?
Honestly,
at least not recently.
No, not recently. Like I have just had a lot of travel for work, but he's from here, so and he had some time off work, so he thought, let me tag along and I'll go see old friends and hang out.
You guys have any fun like New York City things planned since he's from here?
That's a good question. Honestly, just seeing friends. Like he actually today was like, what am I gonna do all day? All my friends are working. I forgot it's like Tuesday at 12 o'clock. Maybe I'll go see a movie by myself. I'm like, that's not very neat. You could do that anywhere. Yeah. But yeah, we'll just see friends and go to good meals.
That's what you do. You eat, right?
Exactly.
Well, I mean, it's funny that you bring that's a perfect window talking about Tim quickly because Lactaid, and I read this somewhere, correct me if I'm wrong, the whole thing started because he's lactose intolerant.
Yeah. So Timmy is lactose intolerant, and he didn't really want to do anything about it. And it got to the point where I was like, it's time to take care of yourself. So I brought Lactaid into the home. It's really great because it's all dairy. It's just without the lactose. And, you know, there's lots of trends out there that are saying, you know, dairy is, lots of people are substituting dairy with other things. But we all really need dairy. It gives us a lot of protein. So Lactaid is just a great option for us to have in the home. So he can enjoy a bowl of cereal, or we can make smoothies after working out. And, you know, all the things that we use Lactaid for, I can just substitute. So, yeah, it's a really good alternative for us.
And the thing I was reading, too, is that, you know, cereal, of course, the obvious stuff, but you've got a couple of recipes, like some go-to stuff that you love using it for as well.
Yeah,
right?
So I'm a big smoothie person. I don't know if you guys are, but smoothies for me are really easy to make. Like, they take no time. You usually have all the ingredients in your house. And there's one that I really love making. I'm into working out these days. Got to get my post-baby body back. So there's a post-recovery workout smoothie that I make with Lactaid, and it has bananas, almonds, cacao nibs, dates, ice, and the Lactaid, and it's really, really delicious. Kind of tastes like a banana ice cream smoothie.
Sounds delicious,
and it has all the protein that you need without feeling like uncomfortable afterwards.
Were you a big smoothie person before Sonny, or have you had to simplify your meals and just reduce it to something I can drink with a straw?
Yeah, you know, honestly, I've always loved smoothies, but they're a huge part of my diet now because they're really easy to make and they satisfy me for a long time. I don't have to prepare something or go out and get something. Yeah.
You also, I was looking up some other stuff that you've done with it. You got a banana bread recipe kicking around. Is that right?
Yes. Do you like banana bread?
Love banana. I'm a big fan of
Banana bread's so delicious.
Oh my gosh.
Yes, I love banana bread. So any recipe that you have that calls for milk, you just substitute with Lactaid, and it's really great and good for you.
And it works better too, because it's not like almond milk and all that stuff is fine, but they're missing something. Like they don't have the actual. They're not as rich. They're not as creamy.
Right.
You can tell it's something that isn't milk.
Right.
Whereas the lactate is not an issue you run into. Right.
Exactly, because it is dairy. Like people think that it's not milk or it's not dairy, but it is dairy. It just doesn't have the lactose in it, which makes people feel icky. Yeah.
It's so funny. Was your husband? I got a couple of friends. We were out having lunch the other day, and the sandwich, it was like a Monte Cristo or something, but it had like cheese melted over it.
Yeah.
And they were like, "That's a lot of cheese." And we were like, "Yeah, it looks really good." And they were like, "Well, I'm lactose intolerant." We were like, "Are you good?" They're like, "I'll figure it out."
I know.
And they
See,
there's
so
just,
many
like,
people.
this attitude of, I'll deal with it later. Don't worry
I know.
about it.
I mean, I guess it's like the same thing with drinking, right? You like do it and then you pay the consequences, but like you don't have to with Lactaid.
There's an option.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, we were talking about smoothies earlier and how important they are, and you've been working out a lot. I heard while you're in New York, there's a cool thing you're doing with Flywheel. Is that right?
Yeah. So we're partnering with Flywheel. I am kind of hosting a Flywheel class today, but Flywheel has tastings at various locations around the country that people can go to book bikes and then taste these special Lactaid smoothies that are really delicious. So, yeah.
Yeah, I saw it was New York City, L.A., and then I wrote down Miami was the other one. So, yeah, no matter where you are, you can go out and they're free tastings that they're doing these post-workout smoothies,
Exactly.
right?
And that's not something that you find very often. I mean,
No.
I know I always go to workouts and then leave feeling starving. So to know that I'm going to work out and then have something to nourish me like that, it's definitely will like push me to go.
How have you been with Sonny's how old now? You said 9?
He's almost 9 months.
It's almost 9 months.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. How have you been at this point balancing mom you and you, finding time to work out, finding time to do these things, learning new smoothie recipes or what it may be. How has that been navigating all that?
So I am trying to kind of take the word balance out of my vocabulary because I find that a lot of people are asking me that, and I really don't think that there is a way to find like true balance. Like I just think some days are very career focused, some days are baby focused, some days are more like husband focused or errand focused, and I just feel like we have to be okay with doing those one things at a time and not beat ourselves up for being everything to everybody at all times, and it's easier said than done because like all have a really busy, like for instance, on Monday, like I knew I was leaving town on Tuesday, but I had a crazy day on Monday and I wasn't really able to spend so much time with Sonny, and I felt really, really guilty, and like mom guilt is definitely a big thing, and I feel like you have to take a moment to remember like what you're doing it for. Like one, we all need our own identities and careers in order to like feel confident. And two, we're providing for our children. So like without working, without having a job, like Sonny couldn't have the things that he needed. So it's all just about like being okay in what you're doing at that time and not beating yourself up for what you're not doing.
It's a really like positive and healthy way to look at it, and it sounds like it helps to alleviate some of that stress. I think everybody goes through that guilt, the mom guilt and all that stuff, because you feel like how do you go and spend an hour working out or doing anything for yourself when you know that could be time spent
taking care of your child.
Exactly.
Yeah, but also it's important to remember that those things that make you whole and make you happy will make you a better mom.
That's part of taking care of your child.
Exactly. Like if you're stressed constantly and you're just like dying for a minute away to take care of yourself, that stress and that kind of just like, I don't know, craziness within yourself is going to come out in how you parent, and it's going to have a negative effect on your child. They don't, and also my child, I mean, I don't think he notices if I'm away for an hour. Yeah. He's not like, Mommy, you left me for an hour. Oh my God. Like,
still
I mean,
no
at least he hasn't said that to me, but like, I don't think that it's affecting him as much as it's affecting me. Yeah, not yet.
He's not cognizant of the passage of time just yet. But, well, what I do love, though, how aware you and Tim kind of are of not just like spending time with Sonny, but like what goes on around him. You did a great video I forget if it was a live one or one that you posted. It was on your YouTube channel where the two of
Yeah.
you were talking about fighting and like
Yeah.
being a healthy couple and like
Yeah.
what's good for Sunny to be around and what's not and things of that nature. And
Yeah.
I thought that was a really interesting video because it feels like something that a lot of people don't plan for or think about until you're in that moment. And now it's like, oh, this is a thing we have to figure out and solve. What other kinds of things have you been surprised by? I mean, how big a list, right? But like, what's something that that you and Tim kind of had to figure out in the moment, and you're kind of figuring out together? Because there is a joy in watching you two do it. Because I think you have a very healthy, open dialogue about these things.
Yeah, I mean, we try to, because that's what our whole series, I Love My Baby Butt, is all about. It's all about the real things that couples face that we don't talk about that often, that people don't necessarily feel that comfortable talking about often. But gosh, what are some other big things that we've run into? I mean, there's, even this may not be too interesting to you, but like the breastfeeding issue was a really big one for me, that I was so surprised by how many people were struggling with it and were desperately wanted to talk about it and didn't have an outlet to, because it's so like the ultimate mom guilt situation is breastfeeding or not breastfeeding. And so that was something I was really not prepared for. I wasn't prepared for how I was going to deal with it, how Timmy was going to support me in it, and I wasn't aware that it was such a big issue. So yeah, that thing was the hugest for me.
I mean, like, you think about it, there really is nothing in your life leading to that moment that can prepare you for that other than that scenario.
Other than you experiencing it. Yeah, part of me was like, why didn't anybody tell me this? Like, why didn't anyone prep me for how hard this was going to be? And then I was like, well, that's because everybody has such a different experience. Even if someone did try to tell you or teach you, you can't necessarily take their word for it because you may have a totally different experience. So like, yeah.
I have to imagine that mentality of like, why didn't anybody tell me? Was that sort of the impetus behind doing this video series and documenting something that a lot of people usually go out of their way to make very private? You were like, I'm going to tell you everything about this story, warts and all. Here's what is happening to me and my body and my baby right now.
That was exactly it. Like Timmy, who has a producing background, one morning when I was like really sick with morning sickness, my first trimester, I was like really sick in bed, and we have a camera, and he was like, Whitney, why don't you just talk about what you're going through right now? Like, if you're feeling like this, there must be so many people out there that are feeling like this too. And I really didn't want to do it. I was like, I look disgusting. The room looks disgusting. Like, I have these gross, like all the snacks next to my bed, like old bananas, like crusty yogurt, like stuff just to make me feel better. And he was like, no, Whitney, this is what people need to see in order to believe and trust you and feel validated by you. And that is what then started the whole thing. And it honestly has been one of the most gratifying things in all my career that I've done, because I feel like it has actually made an impact on women's confidence and not feeling so isolated when motherhood can be a really isolating thing.
Sure. Yeah, if the comments are any indication, if that was the goal, it's been a resounding success.
Yeah,
like, people really respond to it and really dig it. And even for me, like, my wife and I, we're not there yet, but like, we're at that age where all of our friends are getting pregnant. And it's just like, it is really informative and helpful to sort of watch somebody go through it and understand it and be honest about it and share that side.
Yeah, and I don't want to deter anybody from getting pregnant. Like, sometimes I'm like, oh my God, am I so negative and so like, just, negative Nancy about the whole thing, that people are going to be like, ugh, pregnancy, babies, like that sounds terrible. Like, I don't want to deter people from that, because obviously the pros of having a child like far outweigh the cons, but as is life, like there's always hurdles we have to get over. Like, it's not always butterflies and rainbows about everything. So like, we still do need an outlet to talk about
and I don't but like, to that end, I don't consider it a deterrent. It's honest, which I think a lot of people want honesty right now. Because even like our culture and like even my friends, it's like, oh, what was it like? Oh, it's the best thing in the world.
Right.
Oh, it's great.
Right.
Yeah, no, it was great. You love it. Yeah. Oh, you got to get one.
No, I'm so over that. Like, sometimes I'll ask people, I'm like, how are you doing, to someone? They're like, I'm good. I'm like, no, but like, what's really going on? It's like, just be honest with me. Like, you're not going to scare me. Maybe I can help you. Yeah.
Trying to have a human moment.
Yeah.
Well, we're going to turn over to the audience in just a second, but I wanted to remind people then about a couple of the cool things you got going on. We were talking about the smoothie sampling that's in New York City, LA, and Miami. So guys, check that out. Go to your local Flywheel Studios Facebook page. Going to be the best place to find out when those are, so you can take advantage, get a tasty smoothie.
Yep.
Lactaid, of course, #1 brand. You swear by it. You're using it every day.
Yes. It's a staple in our fridge.
Staple in the house.
Yes.
They got ice cream and stuff too. There's so much. I'm not lactose intolerant, so I don't live that life. So I learned a lot in doing my research for this. I didn't realize there's so many different flavors and stuff too. They got tons of amazing stuff.
Yeah, well, there's ice cream and sour cream. So yeah.
It's an eggnog for the holiday season.
Totally.
They cover every single base.
Exactly.
Before we throw it over, anything else you want to tell everybody about before we start taking audience questions? No, just.
I don't think so.
No, that's it.
Yeah, whatever they want to know.
Follow you on Instagram. Follow you on YouTube.
Yeah,
Keep an eye out. Yeah.
exactly.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, thank you. Let's go ahead. We got some microphones in the room. We're going to take our first question.
Hi.
Oh, Green Couch.
Hi, thanks for being here.
Yeah.
So as someone who became lactose intolerant like later on in life, I felt like I was really limited to things I could eat. I was like, oh my God, I'll never be able to like enjoy pizza again. Yeah. And so that's why stuff like this, like the Lactaid supplements and stuff have been like a real lifesaver.
Good.
What was one kind of recipe that maybe you or your husband or whatever have found that this has kind of been a savior for?
Yeah, well, for us, like any kind of pasta dish for Timmy, he loves, because if you want to make some sort of sauce with any kind of cream in it, even if it is like a marinara or just like a creamy kind of buttery sauce for pasta, Lactaid is a really good alternative for that. We also, we're going to be putting out a video too. We made like a really great chicken dish with like a Lactaid creamy sauce over it. With some wild rice and some fresh herbs. But yeah, you can go to lactaid.com and they have like tons and tons of recipe ideas for you. Yeah,
awesome.
Of course.
Thank you for that. We got time for a few more questions. Next one's right here.
Hi, I'm a big fan. This is not related to Lactaid, but I was wondering. Yeah, sorry. But I was wondering if you keep in touch with any of your former castmates and if you're going to see any of them from the city while you're here.
Yeah. So I don't really keep in touch. We message each other here and there. Obviously, some of them had babies around the same time as me, so it's been fun to watch their journey. But I don't think I'll be seeing anybody. Like it's kind of like in college, and you have a lot of you make a lot of friends, and then some like were really close friends at the time, but you just lose touch along the way. That's kind of like the Hills cast for me. Yeah.
Awesome. And that was a great question. Thank you for that.
Of
We've got time for, I'm getting the signal, we're going to do one more, and it appears to be right here.
Hi, I was just and that being on shows like The Hills or The City would kind of hinder your future career in any way if people wouldn't take you seriously or things like that?
Yeah, I mean, I was really hesitant before going on The Hills and The City. I mean, before I was on The Hills, I didn't even know what it was going to turn out to be. I was just told it was like a documentary style show about women in fashion in LA. So to me, that sounded fun. So I went for it, and then it turned out to be a great experience because I didn't have to show much of my personal life, and I was able to launch a fashion brand from it. But then when we were thinking about doing The City, I had to make like a huge list of pros and cons of what to do it or not, just because I did think that some people wouldn't take anything that I did after the fact seriously. But it turns out that if you are like a decent person that's not going to just like over dramatize things for the sake of being on TV, then you can look okay on TV and then be able to have a career afterwards. And that I was lucky enough to be able to use those platforms to start what I've been doing now. So yes, I definitely was scared, but it turned out to be net positive.
Thank you for that question, by the way. We're going to wrap it up in a second. But I'm curious, when Tim approached you about doing like, oh, we should video this and all that, were you in your head like, no, I've been down that road, I've videoed everything and showed the world before? This was that part of the hesitation beyond just like my snack table over here is going to end up?
Yeah, for sure. Like I wasn't really prepared for any kind of backlash. I was afraid that people were going to tell me, you're so lucky to be pregnant. You know, you're so lucky you're in this position. Why are you complaining?
Yeah, you don't get to be negative about
exactly.
things, right.
So I was really scared for that, and I've gotten little comments about that here and there, but it was worth it for me to show the realness because the majority of people actually did feel the same way. So yeah.
Awesome. Well, we're out of time. I got to wrap it up and let you get out of here. But I want to thank you so much for hanging out with us. I want to thank everybody at Lactaid for bringing you to us so we can have this opportunity to hang out and talk.
Yeah.
And I want to thank you guys for your awesome questions. Please make some noise.
So
Whitney Port, everybody. Come on.
Thank you.